All right.
Good morning, everyone. The Finance Committee of the Mackinac Bridge Authority will now be called to order. Today's date is July 9th, 2020. I'm calling the meeting to order as chairman of the Mackinac Bridge Authority due to the vacancies we've had through the appointment process. I will now appoint the chair of the Finance Committee, will be member Amy Treasury, and also Bill Milliken will be a member of the Finance Committee, joining Kirk Slato. At this point in time, I will turn the Finance Committee meeting over to Amy. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. Sorry we can't see you as well, but you're coming through loud and clear, so that's great.
Great.
Everybody has the Finance Committee meeting agenda in front of them. And at this time, I would like to ask a member to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Member Steitel. Do we have a second?
Second.
And was that Bill?
Paul Ajaba.
Oh, thank you. As seconded by Director Ajaba. Is there any public comment on the agenda items? Hearing none, we will move on to the Treasury update. This Treasury update is informational. It will discuss the investment update and the economic report. These are presented and compiled by the Bureau of Investments within the Michigan Department of Treasury. Woody Tyler is going to begin the presentation, and I believe Lon may be joining us. Woody, is that correct?
Lon unfortunately cannot make it. She's visiting her sister in Chicago, and she sends her regrets and her regards.
No problem. It's all about you. If you would like to start your presentation, the slides are up right now.
Great, thank you. And let me know if you want the camera on, I can do that. But my name is Woody Tyler. I work for the Bureau of Investments. And I think, Melissa, are you controlling the slides? If you could go to slide 1, please, right there. Good. We have an outline for the review of the portfolio. We have a current allocation, the estimated income. Then down below that, we have the outlook for bond returns. So some of you were not at the meeting when we met back in early March, but it was only 4 months ago. And it really seems like 4 years ago in terms of what markets have done over that period. Since we met last, the Federal Reserve has dramatically lowered interest rates and plans to keep them there. And in quotation marks, they will keep them there for as long as it takes to get the economy to recover. How long that is up to debate, but our belief is as we move through 2021 and into the second half, the economy will be in recovery phase. And we should, by the second half and toward the end of 2021, be back toward the level of GDP we were at prior to moving into this COVID-19 environment. Below that, we have the bridge spending needs. We have future capital spending plans. We worked with Cami on developing that and working with her model. This is something we did back in November, but what we'll be presenting, I think, for some of the new members, it will be new to them. And what we're doing, we'll look at various interest rate scenarios. So we currently are at a very low level of interest rates for this fund, but our expectations are for rates to move up over time. And we'll talk about sort of looking at several scenarios and what that might mean. When we met last, we talked about keeping the investment portfolio at roughly $10 million. Right now, it's about 118, a little over, closer to $119 million. But we do have capital expenditures going out into the 2030s. And so we'll look at that spending plan under various interest rate scenarios and what that impact will be. Please turn to slide 3. Next slide. Good. So we have recent market performance, and we're looking as of various asset classes, the performance as of the end of May 31st, 2020. If you look in that first column, you'll see 90-day T-bills gave you roughly 1.8% return. But look at the Bloomberg government long bond, up 26.6%. The best asset class you could have been in, right? But this is a long bond, so I want to make that point. When you think of interest rates and bonds, think of a teeter-totter. I think I've mentioned this to people before. As interest rates go down, bond prices go up. The longer the duration, the longer the maturity of the bond is, the further you are out on that teeter-totter, the more you're going to be going up in value. It also works in reverse, by the way, as interest rates move down. And we'll show that a little later on in this presentation. But a year ago, if you looked at the 10-year Treasury, it was over 2.5%. Today, it's 0.65%. And the US Treasury is one of the highest yielding, with the exception of Australia. Among developed markets, it's one of the highest yielding bonds out there. So we are in an extremely low interest rate environment. And just to tell you how powerful that was in terms of impacting, again, the Bloomberg government long bond, which is about a 20-year average maturity, it really popped that asset class. So much so that for the 3-year number, that bond class is up 12%. Beating the S&P 500, which was up 10.2% for that period. And the S&P 500 is a tough asset, or has been, we'll see if it remains that way in the future, has been a very difficult asset class to outperform. Next slide, please. So you can see at the end of May 31st, 2020, the value of this portfolio was just over $118 million. I checked the value of the portfolio yesterday. It's $118.8 million. Interest rates haven't changed much in the past month and a half, but we have received interest income. This portfolio by legislation is restricted to investing in government-backed bonds. So this is what we've invested in. We have been able to diversify somewhat by issuer and maturity date. And you can see that down below. Treasury bonds are roughly just under a third of the portfolio. And we've put over 40% of the portfolio in Ginnie Mae's government-backed mortgages. And then we have government credit bonds, primarily SBA, Small Business Administrative Loans. And we do pick up about 20 to 30 basis points in return from that. You turn to the next page, estimated income for the portfolio. We estimate the income for the next 12 months to be $2.4 million based on a coupon that we are currently generating. However, we are in a very low interest rate environment. As I mentioned, the Fed has lowered interest rates well below 1%. Roughly a fifth of this, or roughly 20% of this portfolio turns over every year, and we'll be reinvesting at those lower rates. So within 12 months, if rates hold where they are, within 12 months, this return will drop down to roughly just over 2%. Within 2 years, this return will drop down closer to 1.5%. So, and again, that is if rates remain low where they are. We expect that well into 2021, but beyond that, we do think there will be benefits to the economy, and that as a consequence, rates will begin to pick up. Turn to the next page, please, slide 6. You can see the performance of the portfolio up 8.8% for this 12-month period ending. Now we're on March 31. We measure performance in quarterly increments. We don't have the end of June numbers out yet. But you can see again, that's unusual for a bond portfolio in this day and age, and it came primarily from appreciation in the portfolio due to the declining interest rates. I want to pause there. If there are any questions, happy to answer those at this time. If none, we can move on to slide 7, please.
If we could ask you to please turn on your video camera as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
You sure you want that? Happy to do. This is just nothing more than over time, the increase in the value of this portfolio. And this has come from both interest rates, appreciation in the portfolio, but really contributions have been the big driver for this portfolio. And if you turn to slide 8, you'll see that this was asked from one of the board members before, Brad, I believe, and I know he's not here today. But you can see if you look at the table below, we have the beginning value, and this is on a fiscal year. The beginning value of this portfolio was $63 million. We had contributions of $5 million, interest income at that time of $1.5 million. And the portfolio, because of a rising rate environment, happened to drop $4.3 million. So the ending value of the portfolio beginning in fiscal year 2015 was $65.2 million. And so I'll leave that for people to look at, or if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt. But that was asked for from one of the previous board members, and so we put that in. But you can see that contributions have certainly been added significantly to the valuation of this portfolio at least over this 6-year period. Slide 9, please. This is really just to point out sort of interest rate sensitivity. And if we went back to pre-Great Financial Crisis, so 2007, 2008, the 10-year Treasury was in the 3.5% to 4.5% range. After the Great Financial Crisis, the Fed implemented what they called quantitative easing to keep rates low, to stimulate the economy. And so we've been kind of in this environment of trading between 1.5% to 3% over this time period. If you look at a period sort of 2015, when this portfolio generated a return of 3.5%, again, that was primarily from interest income, but also appreciation. If you can barely see it, but from 2015 to 2016, interest rates actually went down. Interest rates going down caused the portfolio to appreciate in value. Conversely, if we look at, say, a period like 2017, we had a 1.9% return in this portfolio. Again, interest income coming in, but if you look from 2017 to the end of 2018, roughly, interest rates went up. So again, the valuation of the portfolio came down in that period and consequently a lower return environment. Any questions? I'll pause there just for a second if anyone has a question. Okay, next slide, please. This shows fairly graphically the massive amount of stimulus that we're getting from the Federal Reserve. If you look back to June of 2019, we had the 10-year Treasury at close to 2.5%. It began to drift lower in that period because people were looking primarily, we're 10 years into an economic recovery. It seems to be losing steam, and it was. The economy just wasn't growing quite as rapidly as it had been. And so rates were beginning to kind of drop because of that. But as we rolled into 2020, there were concerns certainly with COVID and the impact to our supply lines from China in January and February. And that rapidly, as you can see, as we moved in through February and into March, moved from being primarily a China supply issue to being a pandemic impacting not only supply, but also impacting demand in the economy. And the Fed's response to that was a dramatic drop in interest rates in that time period. It was necessary. We have a slide in the economic piece that points that out. When the Fed dramatically lowered rates, it was almost like a light switch going off in terms of the stimulus it provided to financial markets and to the economy. If you turn to slide 11, please. I know this is a very busy slide, but just to show you the impact of the Fed lowering rates, if you look in that first column on the left side, we have US Treasuries and corporate bonds. What the yield is as of May 31st, and you can see the 2-year Treasury just yielding 0.16%. You go down below that, you have the 5-year Treasury, and then you have the 10-year yielding 0.65%. Now, just above the 10-year Treasury are TIPS, Treasury Inflation Protection Bonds. They'll pay you whatever the inflation was for the 6-month period, plus the coupon that the TIP generates. In this case, it's a negative coupon. It's a negative 0.5%. Why is that? Well, this is a 10-year TIP. People will arb the difference between that 10-year TIP and the 10-year Treasury, which the Fed is keeping low, to the point where we get to sort of the consensus expectation for inflation for the next 10 years. In this case, it happens to be 1.15%. So if you own a TIP, you get paid 1.15% compensation for inflation, and in this case, minus an interest rate of 0.5%, which will yield you 0.65% in line with the 10-year Treasury. Now, if you happen to think inflation will be higher, TIPS may be a place to be. We are looking at TIPS. Given the needs of the Mackinac Bridge, the capital expenditures are going to be tied into inflation and steel prices, inflation and labor costs. However, we have this negative coupon, and that's kind of holding us back right now. But that is something we're looking at and considering. What level we'll do, we'll certainly discuss with the board, but it's something we're looking at. We're just not a fan of negative coupons. If you drift down or just go down to the next level, you can see corporate bonds. They're no longer at 2.4%, they're at 2.2%. The US aggregate index, which is about a third corporate bonds, a third Treasury bonds, and a third mortgage bonds, yields roughly 1.2% currently. Go down a little lower, you see high yield bonds, otherwise known as junk bonds, yielding now 6%. That is the yield on the bonds. If you account for default risk and write-offs that will be associated with that, that return likely is closer to 4%. So we are all the way down the line. The Fed is opened up its purchasing, not just to treasuries and mortgages, but also to corporate bonds and in some cases, even high yield bonds. If you look to the right side, you'll see the impact of a 1% fall in interest rates. Again, back to that teeter-totter situation or analogy. As interest rates go down, prices of bonds go up. If you happen to own a 30-year Treasury bond, you were in the right place and you got 31% sort of appreciation. But again, I think it's important to remember that it works in reverse as well. As interest rates go up 100%, you would lose 30% or roughly that amount on your 30-year Treasury. If you look at the 10-year, again, great place to be if you expect interest rates to continue to fall. But if they start to move back up, you'll lose 10% in value. And remember, the coupon currently on the 10-year Treasury is 0.65%, well, roughly 0.6% this morning. So very, very low rates of return. We're very sensitive to this. We've throttled back the duration a little bit in the portfolio. It was 5.5. We're now currently at 4.5 duration. Duration is similar to maturity. It's just a weighted average cash flow of the bonds. I won't bore people with the math on that, but we've throttled back the weighted average maturity of those coupons or the duration of the portfolio because this is not a risk that we want to take on at this time. Any questions at this time? Slide 12, please. So where should the long-term, when I say long-term, the 10-year Treasury be? And if you look in, and I apologize for the fine print here, but if you look at that box sort of in the middle of that graph on the left-hand side, you'll see over this happens to be a 62-year period since 1958, the nominal yield that you would have received over this time period was 5.94%. The inflation over this period was 2.65%. So the real yield over this time period, the difference between the nominal yield and the inflation rate was 2.3%, which typically ties in with the long-term real growth of GDP. Historically, the 10-year Treasury was simply, what do you expect long-term real growth to be, growth minus inflation, and then what do you expect inflation to be? So if you look on the right-hand side, the consensus expectation for inflation we did say in the next 10 years is 1.2% roughly, but let's say it's 1.5% to 2%. The real GDP growth, again, productivity and growth in workforce population, estimated to be 1.5% to 2.5%. That would imply that the 10-year, given where it's traded over the long run, should be 3 to 4.5%. And again, we're currently at 0.65%. Turn to slide 13, please. So this will tie in with some of the work that we've done in the next couple of pages in terms of our forecast for rates of return for this portfolio in the long run. And then we'll run these scenarios of interest rates and what the impact of the portfolio might be. Again, this is working with Cami. We have the Mackinac Bridge cash needs, the preservation, the capital spending for the infrastructure to support the bridge in 2024, 25, and 26 picks up, totaling roughly just over $116 million. And then just below that, you see what will be required from the investment portfolio to help finance that. In 2024, it's 3.3 million, ramps up to 21 million or 22 million roughly in 2025, and then just over 35 million in 2026. And then we have out over 10 years, 13 years, an expenditure in 2033 and a large expenditure in 2036. And down below is simply a table showing sort of those cash draws in over this 20-year time period. Turn to slide 14, please. So without a meaningful increase in interest rates, current portfolio returns for this portfolio are going to be less than those that we've experienced certainly for the last 5 to 7 years. And that's without a doubt, given the current interest rate environment. What we've built into the MBA model, you can see below, and this is not, there's no precision to this. It's an expectation directionally that interest rates will steadily increase and move back toward that normal rate. And all I've done simply is just assume that this kind of comes in increments. Currently in 2020 and 2021, we estimate that will be roughly 0.8%. We are yielding higher than that now. But again, that yield will drop as we reinvest at these lower rates. 2022 to 23, 1.5%. Then we have that ramping up by 0.5% in the 24 to 25 environment, then another 0.5%, then another 0.5%. So what does this look like graphically? If you turn to page 15, just graphically, you can see this sort of this stair step increase in interest rates until we hit 3.5% what we would say is sort of an appropriate return for the 10-year Treasury, and we flatline it from there for the next 10 years. What does that mean given the spending rate for this portfolio? What will the portfolio look like? And you can see that in the chart on the right. So we're currently at roughly $119 million. As we move out to 2023, when the expenditures will pick up, the portfolio will increase in value to just over 130, roughly 135 million, and then we'll draw down over that period through 2026. And then again, the portfolio will build up in value until 2032, when we have a big expenditure in 2033, drawdown, then ramp up a little bit until 2035, and then a drawdown in 2036. That low point in the portfolio, and again, there's been a desire, we talked about keeping the value of the portfolio above $10 million. That drawdown after the expenditures in 2036 will be roughly $8.2 million. I'm not going to give any allusion to the precision here. Just kind of call it close enough to the $10 million that, given that interest rate forecast that we just talked about, we should be fine in terms of maintaining the investment portfolio around $10 million. If we dip below that, and that will be kind of a worry, I guess, out there in the mid 2030s. Next page, 16, please. So what we've done here, using the same portfolio and running various interest rate scenarios through it, and this is a very simplistic process. So what we've done is simply for the next 20 years, held interest rates at below 1% each and every year at, say, in this case, 0.75%. And what does the ending portfolio look like at the end of 2026? And then again at the end of 2036, given the capital expenditures that we have. And you can see this graphically on the right side, the blue line, 0.75%, obviously trading below the other lines because it is a lower rate of interest. The value of the portfolio in 2036 will dip below, well below $10 million, or well below zero. It'll be into the negative 25 million range. If we earn an interest rate of 1.5% each year for the next 20 years, the portfolio value in 2036 will be negative $12 million. If we happen to get to 2% and hold steady there for the next 20 years, we sort of are just below zero, roughly $3 million in 2036. If the portfolio happens to earn 2.5% over that time period, again, we're roughly just below that $10 million mark. I want to preface by saying we are in this low rate environment, but it's easy for financial markets to do this, to over discount the present situation as if it's going to persist into the future, into the next 20 years. And I want to state the fact that, again, a year ago, we were at interest rates that were well above 2.5% in the 10-year. So I do think the interest rate environment below 2% for 20 years is an extreme environment. It would imply that the U.S. is in a situation similar to what Japan has been in for the past 30 years. And I don't think the U.S. is in that situation. Japan, going back to the early 1990s, had negative demographics. Our demographics are not what they were with the baby boom generation, but they're not negative. And Japan had two huge financial bubbles, one in their stock market and the other, even more extreme, in their real estate market. We've had bubbles. I don't want to ignore those, and there's some maybe forming right now with some of the FANG stocks, but that's a separate discussion. But it's nowhere near as big as what Japan had from a size relative to GDP standpoint. I know that's a lot of information. I can finish up on slide 17 and then take any questions. Just under current interest rate assumptions, the returns for the investment portfolio are expected to meet the Mackinac Bridge future cash needs as we go out, looking out all the way out to 2036. If returns on the investment portfolio remain below 1.5% long-term, there could be, a shortage of cash, but that wouldn't start really until the mid-2030s. We've talked about the addition of higher yielding investments, something like the Lehman Ag, or I'm sorry, showing my age, the Bloomberg Ag, that could be 30 to 60 points of additional return. I don't think there's any rush to do that right now, given the spread compression that we've seen with interest rates. So those are sort of the 3 bullet points we're ending with, and I'm happy to take any questions after that. I hope I wasn't on mute this whole time.
You're doing great.
Great. I can move to the economic authority, or I'm sorry, the economic outlook. I know, I just want to be sensitive to time because I know there are a number of issues coming up. And if you'd like, we can just kind of file this, or I can give you a 2-minute Cliff Note version.
I'd like to hear it.
Like to hear it? You sure? I know when we met in March, it was a little dark, but if you turn to the next slide, we have the agenda. And I'll give sort of a rapid presentation and happy to take any questions. I only hope to be directionally right with this, and I'm standing on the shoulders of a couple of economists that we work with. David Kelly from JP Morgan, I've mentioned him before, Chetan Aya from Morgan Stanley, and Nancy Lazar from Cornerstone. They're very good economists, slightly different outlooks, and I'll talk about that. But really the next 6 months, well, let me step back. Really the economic forecast is going to be dependent on the virus and the outlook for the virus. And a lot of work has gone into it. And I think the Spanish flu seems to be sort of a good proxy to look at. It came certainly and hit in the winter and early spring of 2018, and then came back with a second wave, even worse, in the second half of 2018 and stretched into 2019, and then it dissipated. We're not expecting that second wave to be nearly as bad by any means, but I'll be honest with you, the next 6 months are the most difficult to forecast. David Kelly happens to think we'll have sort of this U-shaped recovery. Chetna thinks it'll be more of a V-shaped, a very dramatic recovery. And she happens to think that it will actually be inflationary out into 2021. Nancy Lazar thinks it's going to be more kind of a W-shaped, a wobbly V. But all three of them think once we get into 2021, that we really will begin to recover. And primarily based on, it's not just one thing, but we will be closer to a vaccine of some kind. We will be building up, unfortunately, but it should help, herd immunity of a sort. Hopefully people are learning, and so we'll have a more disciplined approach to safe practices, wearing a mask, washing our hands, social distancing, and then improved therapeutics. I mean, Gilead's remdesivir drug has been proved to be very helpful for people who've had to go on ventilators. But there's also been the research that shows that steroids have been very helpful in helping people recover. So we're optimistic as we move into 2021 that this economy will really be kind of ramping up as we move ahead. If you turn the slide, I'll skip over a couple of these slides. Some of them are, just stuff we've already known. or have gone through. But if you turn to page 3, I know I've talked about the Fed, but I'm not a Fed basher. I want to make that point clear. If you look at that downturn, you have the S&P 500 turning down, investment grade corporate bonds and high yield bonds and municipal bonds, all were losing value at the end of March. And it did, in the late days of March, look like we were going to have a financial crisis on top of the crisis we're in right now. And on March 23rd, the Fed just opened up the gates, lowered interest rates, announced that they were going to go through this massive repurchase program of both government bonds, corporate bonds, even high yield bonds. And it was like a light switch going off. You can see that V shape. It really happened almost within a couple of hours. And you can see the S&P 500 rallied. I know this only goes out into mid-June, but each of those asset classes have benefited from that. So the Fed really did help us out. Page 5, the expectation we talked about, I'm sorry, slide 5, thank you. We expect this environment to be much different than what we went through in 2018. This is sort of an exogenous sort of event hitting our economy. It's not a financial crisis as we experienced in 2018. It really took, you see that yellow dip in the great financial crisis and then the recovery. It took 3+ years to sort of recover. If you look at the blue line, this is more the expectation, and this is from Morgan Stanley. So this gets to their V-shaped sort of recovery. The expectation is really once we sort of put this problem behind us, we should have a fairly quick recovery, but it really won't happen. We won't get back to the GDP levels that we were at the end of 2019 until the end of 2021. That's Morgan Stanley's expectation. If you turn to the next slide, we've talked about everybody on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve, even the World Bank. They're using the alphabet to talk about what kind of recovery we're in, or even a square root sign, so we get away from the alphabet occasionally, or the Nike swoosh is another analogy. The V-shaped recovery, we really have had somewhat of a V-shaped recovery off the bottom. But from here, it may look more U-shaped just because the industries that have been negatively impacted are going to take longer to recover. And it's not a surprise. Anyone tied in with the hospitality industry, the hotels, the restaurants, travel industry, it's just going to take longer to recover. And so we'll have to wait for that. The W-shaped, we may be going through something of that right now. When the June employment numbers were announced, the V-shaped recovery was widely perceived as happening. Now we're getting sort of the 3 largest states in the country, 3 of the largest states in the country, California, Texas, Florida, are now facing situations where they may have to shut down for a while to take care of their problems. So that certainly will lead to somewhat of a W-shaped recovery. We'd say that's possible. The L-shaped, we don't think is likely. The L-shaped, it's not a recovery. We're down and out, and we can't get the economy to recover. We think that's highly unlikely. The stimulus that the federal government has provided and the Federal Reserve have provided, we think, will be sufficient to really get the economy going. Page 10 is sort of the phase 4 outlook. We've had huge stimulus from the federal government. So if you move to slide 10, you'll see there's a recognition that as the federal government pulls back this stimulus, we could see the economy begin to drift off again. And a large part of the benefits are scheduled to end at the end of July. So if you go to slide 10, please, yeah, thanks. You'll see that the next round of stimulus is being debated. I think the Republicans would like to keep it around $1 trillion, and the Democrats are somewhere around $3 trillion. $1.5 trillion seems like a likely amount. State and local authority is sort of at the top of the page. I think there's a recognition that there are deficits that have been run up because of this, and that there is aid that needs to be given to state and local governments. So again, in slide 10, we'll likely see a pickup in federal spending. Slide 11, I think there was a question on an infrastructure spending deal. Thanks. That's unlikely this year. You can see, I know it's kind of blurry, but if you look to the right, the first column is the House proposal on infrastructure spending at just under $600 billion. And then to the right of that, you have the Senate at $290 billion. They're unlikely within the next 6 months to reach an agreement on this. However, it may be something that very likely will happen as we move into 2021, especially if there's a Democratic sweep. It's even more likely to happen. So that's out there. And the Michigan economy is it's even tougher to forecast, I think, than the U.S. economy. If you turn to slide 12, we do have the Michigan economy certainly was impacted more negatively from COVID early on. And so you did see a very dramatic increase in the unemployment rate. We are a more cyclical economy than the rest of the country, and certainly the auto industry is it kind of suffered somewhat because of that. So we did see this very dramatic jump up in the unemployment rate. But the expectations are for that to really come down along with the U.S. unemployment rate. Consensus expectations for U.S. unemployment is for it to drop to around 10% plus or minus by the end of this year, and then slowly drift down through 2021. And my expectation would be for the Michigan unemployment rate to follow that as well. And again, happy to take on any questions. Then if you could go to slide 18, I just kind of wind it up because I know I've taken up a lot of time, and I apologize. The risk to the economic forecast, really first and foremost, it's the vaccine. If a vaccine were to come along, or it's the virus first and foremost, if a vaccine were to come along, that we would expect a dramatic recovery in financial markets and certainly in the economy itself. Policy error, we don't think this is going to happen. If they pull back the stimulus too soon, or if the Fed pulls back, the Fed has given every indication that they will maintain this stimulus until the economy is fully in recovery phase. Trade tensions, they're out there. We don't think that it's going to be enough. It may weigh on the economy, certainly, but not enough to take it down further. And that's sort of the presentation. I apologize. I know it was fairly quick on the economy, but I'm happy to take any questions on the economic forecast or any stones that may be thrown. But I'm more positive than certainly back in March of this year. But a rough 6 months ahead of us. I'm sorry.
Are there any questions?
Well, with that, yeah, if you want to send them to me by email, happy to address those. But that's the presentation, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It was a lot more uplifting than the March meeting, so I appreciate that. I think I'm buffering.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay. Am I coming through okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, now you're muted though.
You're muted now, Amy.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, we're all trying to navigate the virtual world. Most of the time we do it successfully. We're having some challenges right now. Housekeeping, I would like to go back to Member Steidl made a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting. We were seconded by Director Ajba. I would like to take that to a vote to approve the agenda. And no one can hear me.
What
I will
was the-
call in.
So Amy, just call for the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Milliken.
aye, Paul Ajaba.
Aye, Amy Trahey. So voted, approved. Moving on to the traffic and revenue update, informational update during the pandemic is Executive Secretary Kim Nowak.
Okay, we are on tab number 5 in your board member packet. And it mirrors a lot of what you're going to see in the slideshow, although we have some late breaking news that was added just this morning for our June traffic. So what you see on the screen right here is the March traffic showing 2020 and 2019. 2020 is blue, and you can see when it takes a big dive in mid-March there. Compared to last year where we had our normal weekend peaks of traffic. So the total numbers in March showed a 24% drop in total traffic, but that only amounted to a 14% drop in revenue, and that was mainly because of the truck traffic that kept coming across. So if you could change to April, please. This is the April traffic. You can see that 2020 we just stayed below 2019, and you can see our own curve was flattened there. We didn't have the weekend peaks of traffic. So that total month was about 63% below last year, which all these drops in traffic are unprecedented in the history of the Mackinac Bridge. So it is quite fascinating to look at these. You can see that in April, the amount of revenue that dropped was only 46%, and that again is due to the trucking traffic that kept moving essential goods and services through the bridge. So if we could go to May, please. There you can see we're starting to move up closer to 2019, and then towards the end of the month is when things started opening up. Restrictions started getting less and less, and you can see we're starting to develop some of those weekend peaks of travelers coming across the bridge again, even though it stayed below. And we averaged about 37% below last year, which amounted to a 32% drop in revenue for the month. If you change to June, please. This is June. You can see we're getting quite tight to the 2019 numbers. And the weekend peaks are still there. We had only a drop of 18.5%. These are almost audited numbers. I think Cammie would like to do another couple double checks on these numbers, but this is some of the late breaking information. 18% drop in total traffic that amounted to a 16% or 17% drop in revenue. Again, you can see we're getting back to normal, just staying a little bit under. If you'd switch to July, and July traffic is really strange looking because of the way the holiday fell on a different day of the week than it was last year. So the chart is almost not really usable, although you can see we're starting to get right tied up to last year's numbers. And again, this is only a few days in July that we had to put in there. So at the bottom of this slide, I added in where we stand through the fiscal year from October through the end of June. And again, these are almost all audited. Cammie wants to do a little double check there on June, but so total for the fiscal year down 14%. In traffic amount, and then our revenue is just about 11% down. So with all those drops in traffic, when you accumulate it through the fiscal year, it's not as bad as as some of those charts looked. If you'll go one more slide, please. I updated this with those numbers you just saw, and it's a little different than what you have in your packet. So till the end of June, there's that 11% lower, and that amounts to $1.5 million lower than projected revenue to the end of June. And then I estimated July, August, and September, and those are very conservative estimates, not knowing exactly when we'd get back to normal and exactly how quickly we'd get back to normal. I just took a stab at, changing it a 5% every month. So this bottom line there is what might be a revenue deficit with quite a bit of that estimated July, August, and September. And again, I think it is quite conservative. So you can see this amounts to 2.9 million, and the estimate I gave in the book was just over 3 million. So a little bit better. We're getting a little bit better. Yeah. Melissa, is there one more slide, or is that it for this? That might be it. Okay. I just wanted to point out in your book there, I gave some possible cost savings to help us with that revenue deficit. And we'll talk about those some more in the budget amendment area. But these cost savings, not all of them will be shown in the budget amendment because they're multiple line items in our budget. And we didn't want to give you a big, long list of budget amendment items that were smaller items. So, but I did want to summarize it there for you on in your booklet, so you can see some things that cost savings that we will have for this year. Any questions about this information?
No, thank you, Kim, for the update and for the updating information for the July numbers. That was interesting to see. Any other questions for Kim? Okay, then we will move on to the next agenda item, which is in your tab number 6, repayment of advances. And presenting on this action item will be Cammie, the CFO for the Mackinac Bridge Authority. I think. Cammie, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome.
So we met as a group, and due to the decrease in traffic that was caused by the stay-at-home order, we are recommending as a group to go back to the repayment amount of $250,000 versus the $1 million. And that is a recommendation by the executive team.
Is there any discussion on this matter?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Kirk. I think that's a prudent move. And while it would be nice to have it higher, I think that's the appropriate amount until we get through this. So I would make a motion that we approve the refunding at $250,000 for this year.
Okay, Member Settle has made a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second on the motion for the repayment of advances?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. So moved. We'll take it to a vote. Kim, if you wanted to try to do a roll call for this situation, since we're all virtual and don't want to talk over each other, just let me know.
Yes, that's a good idea. Let's do that. So we're voting on this motion for repayment of advances. Chairman Trahey?
Yes. Could we take a vote for this, changing the repayment amount from $1 million to $250,000? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, you're doing roll
Yes,
call.
I'm trying to do the roll call. So Amy, Chairman Trahey, how do you vote?
Approve.
Member Seidel?
Approved, yes.
Member Milliken?
Aye, yes.
Thank you. The vote passes.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Moving on to the next agenda item is the budget amendments for fiscal year 2020. I believe, Kim, you're going to be discussing this item?
Yes, I'll be discussing that item.
Okay.
If you could change the slide there. This is also in your book under tab 7. We picked out bigger items to amend the budget for so that we could take care of some of those revenue deficits. So one of those items is our debt grading materials. We determined that we can skip this year purchasing debt grading materials. We have enough in stock to work on the remainder of this year. So that's $250,000. And then, as you remember from our special meeting in May, we are suspending the annual bridge walk, and we will have a savings of $229,000. The remainder of the bridge walk was labor, and this year, instead of putting up fencing and getting ready for Labor Day, we'll be actually doing bridge work. So that's why we don't see the full amount there of the bridge walk deficit there. And then we have 2 compressors that we wanted to purchase this fiscal year that we're going to move into next fiscal year without much trouble. So that's $115,000. You just voted on the repayment of advances, which was budgeted for $1 million. So we'll save $750,000. And then our deck study is another place where we will save some money. The total deck study was budgeted for $3 million, and the actual price that was negotiated ended up at $2.5 million. So there'll be $500,000 savings total. And then because of the late start with our virus situation, most of that money will be pushed into fiscal year 21. And so we'll take $2 million out of fiscal year 20 and put it into 21. So that is the total budget amendment amount of $3,344,000.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And again, you mentioned before there are other cost savings that don't show up necessarily because of the line items, but you guys are doing a lot internally there to have some cost savings for this year being realized with maintenance positions not being filled, furlough days, overtime reduction in those items. So thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing during this challenging time.
You're welcome.
So regarding the budget amendments, I would like to ask for a motion by a member to approve the budget and amendments as presented.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the budget amendments for 2020 as presented.
So moved. Do we have a second?
And I'll support that motion.
Thank you, Bill. Let's take it to a vote. Kim?
Chairman Trahey?
Approve.
Member Steidel?
Yes.
Member Milliken?
Yes.
So moved. On to the next action item, which is our fiscal year 2021 budget being presented by the CFO, Cammie.
Okay, so the 2021 annual budget is based off from our 2021 business plan, and we are anticipating a normal traffic year. As you've seen in this year, if need be, we will adjust through budget amendments, but we're hopeful and anticipating a great 2021 year. So on page 1, you can see operating revenues of $24,205,728 and operating expenses of $19,034,207. Create an operating gain of $5,171,000. This is for the repayment of advances and the capital outlays that we have scheduled for the 2021 year. If you go to page 3, I'm trying to walk you through each page just so we can highlight what I'm looking at and what you have in your board packet. Page 3, we are looking at traffic counts of 4,297,372 vehicles. which is the current prediction in the 2021 business plan at 0.75% increase from the original 2020 budgeted traffic count. It is, however, a 29.17% increase from the amended 2020 budget traffic count. So on pages 4 through 9, it's basically departmental salaries and benefits that we actually look at, plus possible travel supplies if need be in that department. And for salaries, we're looking at a 3% contractual increase anticipated, as well as a 3% increase in all benefits, which may include health, dental, vision, long-term, and life. We also look at travel and supplies as determined by the individual departments, looking at past purchases or current contracts in each fiscal year determines the amount for travel and supplies. So page 10 projects the projects postponed in the 2020 fiscal year and moved to the 2021 fiscal year are the deck study and partial contracting for the bridge painting. Total programs and projects in fiscal year 2021 equals $6,071,000 compared to the fiscal year 2020 equaling the amended $5,310,000. Capital outlay postponed, page 11. Capital outlay postponed in the 2020 fiscal year to the 2021 fiscal year include the reach-all at $975,000 and the air compressors at $115,000. And we added an additional capital outlay, which is the mobile vehicle hoist at $60,000. Total capital outlay for fiscal year 2021 is $2,154,928,000 compared to the fiscal year 2020 amended amount of only $675,928. And lastly, for the staffing for 2021, we will anticipate 94 FTEs in comparison to the amended staffing in 2020 of 93 FTEs. So this is your 2021 fiscal year budget proposal. Any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I have a couple of questions. So,
Go ahead.
yeah, if we go back to page 3 and the traffic projection, it seems to me almost a 30% increase, realizing that it's, quite unusual, but that's really anticipating we're going back to normal for all the next year, as you said. I just wonder if that's really a prudent, and it's certainly not a conservative effort in revenue or an estimate in revenue. It seems to me to be rather optimistic. None of us has a crystal ball right now. I think that's the number we've got to watch and maybe come back at the fall meeting and make adjustments if things aren't starting to pick back up again. Because I'm a bit concerned that sets a budget level that's really probably too high. So I would just add that as a comment that's going to need to be reviewed probably at the next meeting to see how close we are, because that sets the basis for all the rest of what we're doing here.
That's a great point, Kirk. And, as optimistic as we are, nobody can predict accurately. So to be a little bit more conservative, I think positions us to start thinking about things that we need to, reconsider moving forward. So, Cammie, is that something that you could prepare some different scenarios to adjust the anticipated funding at our fall meeting in September?
Yep. And I've created a report where I watch closely now the revenues, sometimes more than just monthly, but that's something that we can present in the fall and give you an update as to where we're at with our traffic counts and whether we're up or down or still losing revenue at that time. So yes, definitely.
Good.
Okay.
And following on to that, Amy, I think when we get to the capital outlay or the equipment pieces, it'd be good to know how we're prioritizing, and when those might go out. The first quarter, the second quarter, the fourth quarter. What are we holding back? Making sure that we have the revenue there before we just advance all the purchases.
Agreed.
That's great thinking, Kirk. Thank you for putting those ideas forward.
So Cammie, we could estimate some of those in a quarterly fashion. So we would expect to see these broken up for the next September meeting.
Yes, and to answer the question about the capital outlay, we did not purchase much of the capital outlay until this spring when we really needed to have the vehicles. So we do watch that, and we do watch our cash flow. So that is one thing that we do monitor.
Right.
Okay.
It would just be good to know, how you prioritize those or where you put them. We don't need to get into, the specifics of what vehicle to which crew, but more so, when is the timing hit, so it can be viewed relative to that revenue projection up front.
Well, and if you'd like, I can put a schedule together with our executive team as to when the best time for purchasing those capital outlay purchases would be. So we can put a schedule together.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think there, some kind of internal measures or a metric that says, okay, if we haven't hit certain revenue numbers, then these are the things that are going to kind of slide off. Because I'm sure that some of those equipment purchases are much more important than others, and others are probably some nice to haves. If we have funds, but you and the staff would know that.
Yeah. I mean, the retail is a big one, right, Kurt?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Cammie, for putting that extra effort in.
So Madam Chairman, with that explanation, and then understanding there's more detail coming later, I would make a motion to approve the 2021 budget as presented.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll support the motion.
Thank you, Bill. Kim, for a roll call for the vote to approve the fiscal year 2021 budget as noted.
Okay, Chairman Trahey,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Milliken,
Yes.
So moved. Thank you. Are there any other comments or discussion points from anybody on the committee?
I have one, Amy. So it's just a historic piece here that, so I've been involved with the bridge since 2004. And as I listened to Woody's presentation, it just struck me how over the last 16 years, we have moved so far. Those initial presentations, first of all, Treasury wasn't doing them. There was another hired firm that was doing them. The balance was woefully inadequate. And to see where we've come, knowing that we had, at that point in time, we were anticipating the deck project to be in 2018. And everybody on the finance committee and on the board just, kind of bewildered as to how are we going to pay for this thing. So the help of the staff to preserve the bridge, extend that time frame out, another almost 10 years or more, and the early action that the board took to raise the tolls, to generate the money that we can pay for it, I think is absolutely tremendous. As I was just looking at those projections, realizing that we wanted to keep, a $10 million balance and actually looking that we will be able to do that. That was not the case a number of years ago, where it was always showing we were going to be in the negative. So my hat's off to the staff for the preservation and the number crunching and the management of all of our reserves. It's just, it's really great to see. It's a whole different conversation than we had a while ago. And I just want to say thank you to all of them.
That's great to hear the historical background, Kirk. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, especially for the new members. With that, we'll move to see if there's any public comment.
Oh, Amy?
Yes.
Oh, Chair, I'm sorry, it's Tricia. Could I ask one quick question?
Sure.
As an observer member? Just listening to it, and I didn't want to interrupt before, just since we're observing. When Woody gave his presentation, and obviously the outlook is much better, or at least somewhat better than the March presentation, but he did discuss the contributions made to the fund over the past, I think the page 8 had 2014 through 2019. He mentioned that those contributions ranging up from 3 million to 9 million added quite a bit. I guess my question maybe for you or for Woody is, are the future projections using an assumption that the Bridge Authority will continue making some contribution in that range or not? And I agree, based on my understanding of where 15 years ago the investment fund was and the commitment by the Bridge Authority then, it's night and day. But it's just one of those questions kind of in this evolving environment I was curious about. Or does their projection have pretty much a zero assumption of any contribution?
I think there's the plan for the repayment, the portions of the repayment. Is that your question? What that dollar value would be?
I don't know so much about repayment to the state as much as, and maybe I'm not understanding it, his slide, I thought, suggests that we as an authority in 2014, for example, made a $5 million contribution into our investment fund.
Gotcha.
And then 3 after. Again, I don't want to be splitting hairs in light of Kirk's just comment, great point about night and day from 15 years ago, but it was just a question about going forward. Did they assume we'd be making a $3, $5, or $9 million contribution into that investment portfolio?
Yeah, look,
sure
that's a great question. And Cammie may have those numbers. I worked from that spreadsheet. So there's an assumption, it's a P&L that rolls forward for 20 years with contribution from that P&L going into the investment fund, plus interest income going into that income fund. All I changed were the interest rate assumptions to kind of give you a visual in terms of how that might impact the numbers, but I didn't change the contribution coming in from the bridge, and I can't. We can look at those numbers each year, and Cammie may have those. She'd be better, maybe a better person to ask that question to.
Okay, that's. I just wanted to kind of have a framework of the going forward assumption. So thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there's no public comment, we'll do a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee meeting of the Mackinac Bridge Authority. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. You guys are rock stars. Thank you for all that. Kim, can we take it to a vote to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, Chairman Trahey,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Milliken.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Kim, are we transitioning directly to the meeting as a whole, or are we taking a break?
I would vote for a break. Council Gleason, you're on the line somewhere. What do you advise we do for the starting time of the official board meeting?
Here I am. What did the notice say about the time for the meeting? Does anyone remember?
10:30.
Maybe take just a couple minute break, but we shouldn't go too long. We should come back in just a few, so we're close to the 10:30 time.
Okay, we'll shoot for 5 minutes.
Right.
Or
Thank you.
less.
10th, 2020. Before we proceed with the meeting, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our new board members. A special welcome to Caroline Cheeseman and Bill Milliken. Both of you have a long history with the Mackinac Bridge. Certainly know the meaningful value of the bridge to the state of Michigan, and we all look forward to working with you in the future. And we know that you're going to be big assets to the Bridge Authority. And thank you very much for taking on the responsibility.
Thank you.
As we head into the, first of all, also, I want to apologize for the video on my end. I wish I could be participating in the video, but for whatever reason, there's some technical problems here. At any rate, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And Kim, with these action items, when the motions are made, if you would call roll on all motions, I'd greatly appreciate it. With that being said, a motion would be in order to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there support
Second.
to the motion?
Second by me. Yes.
It's been moved and supported that the agenda be approved as presented. Kim would call the roll, please.
Chairman Gleason,
Yes.
Director Ajaba,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Kinley,
Yes.
Member Trahey. That was kind of garbled. Member Trahey?
Yes.
Member Milliken?
Yes.
Member Cheeseman?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on the agenda items? Anyone from the public wishing to comment on the agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item number 3, and you have a packet of meeting minutes. One from the Finance Committee meeting of March 4th, 2020, the official board meeting of March 5th, 2020, and also a special meeting by the Mackinac Bridge Authority held on May 13th, 2020. What?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting, March 4th, the official meeting, March 5th, and the special meeting on May 13th, all of 2020.
I'll second that. Tricia Kinley?
It's been moved and supported to approve all 3 sets of minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Chairman Gleason,
Yes.
Director Ajaba,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Kinley,
Yes.
Member Trahey,
Yes.
Member Milliken,
Yes.
Member Cheeseman.
Yes.
I believe the motion carried. Kim?
Yes, the motion carried. Sorry about that. Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 4 of the agenda, we have the elections of officers. And at this point in time, Kim, if you would accept the nomination for chairman of the Mackinac Bridge Authority, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, we're voting this morning for chairman and vice chairman since we've had such turnover in our membership. So at this time, I would accept nominations for chairman of the Mackinac Bridge Authority Board.
Kim, I would nominate Shorty Gleason to be chair.
I will second that. Tricia Kinley.
Thank you. We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations or discussion? We'll have a vote on Chairman Gleason as Chairman Gleason as new Chairman Gleason. Shorty Gleason,
Yes.
Director Ajaba,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Kinley,
Yes.
Member Trahy,
Yes.
Member Milliken,
Yes.
and Member Cheeseman.
Yes.
Thank you. We have elected Patrick Gleason as chairman of the Mackinac Bridge Authority. So now I'll turn it back to Chairman Gleason to elect the vice chairman of the board.
Thank you, Kim. And I want to take just a minute to thank the colleagues of mine on the Mackinac Bridge Authority. I really, really look forward to working with each and every one of you in the future, and I certainly always appreciate your input. Thank you very much. At this time, I would open the floor for nominations to vice chair of the Mackinac Bridge Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Amy Trahy as the vice chair.
Amy, do you accept the nomination?
I don't think we heard the second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was asking for Amy's acceptance. If she's accepting, this is Tricia Kinley. I'll make a second of the motion. She does.
I'm going to need more time to think about the. Yes. Go. Yes, I accept the nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination of a vice chair, member Amy Trahy. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Kim, if you would call the roll on the election of vice chair, the nomination is in place is Amy Trahy. Please call the roll.
Chairman Gleason,
Yes.
Director Ajaba,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Kinley,
Yes.
Member Trahy,
Yes.
Member Milliken,
Yes.
Member Cheeseman.
Yes.
Congratulations, Amy.
Thank you.
And if we could, we'll have the record reflect the vice chair of the Mackinac Bridge Authority that there was one unanimous ballot cast for Amy Trahy. Congratulations, Amy.
You sure know how to make someone feel special, Shorty. Thank you.
Okay, as chairman, I will make the appointments to committees of the Mackinac Bridge Authority. Starting with the Finance Committee, the chair will be Amy Trahy, Bill Milliken, and Kirk Steidel. Under the Insurance Committee, we have Tricia Kinley and Director Ajaba. Under Fares, Fees, and Classifications, we have the chair, Trish Kinley, Caroline Cheeseman, and Patrick Gleason. The Bylaws Committee will be Caroline Cheeseman, the chair, and Patrick Gleason. Infrastructure, Deck, and Replacement Committee, the chair of that committee is Kirk Steidel. Bill Milliken and Amy Trahy will be on the Infrastructure, Deck, and Replacement Committee. Under Toll Software Committee, we have Patrick Gleason will be the chair, and Director Ajaba will join him. The Social Media Committee, The chair of that committee will be Tricia Kinley. She will be joined with Caroline Cheeseman. I think the motion would be in order to accept the committee assignments from the chairman for the purpose of discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the committee assignments.
I'll second that.
A motion has been made and duly supported to accept the assignments from the chairman. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you call roll, please?
Yes, Chairman Gleason,
Yes.
Vice Chair Trahy,
Yes.
Director Ajaba,
Yes.
Member Steidel,
Yes.
Member Kinley,
Yes.
Member Milliken,
Yes.
Member Cheeseman.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you very much, Kim, and motion is passed as indicated. Kim, if you would, under item 6, traffic report, could you give us informational update on that, please? Thank you.
Yes, I will. And these are the same slides we just saw. They were put in this one in case in our old format, members couldn't attend the finance meeting usually on the Thursday. So I was going to go over it all again, but we're just going to flip quickly through these. Perhaps flip through, Melissa, please, to the July slide. Just as a summary, up through the end of June, we are down 11% in our revenue. And all through the end of June, we're down 14% in our traffic amounts. So again, we are getting back to normal. The traffic just keeps rising and rising. We don't know whether it'll reach a plateau or whether it will keep going until we start reaching the 2019 numbers. But we'll keep providing you with that information as we go through the year. And as was suggested in the Finance Committee, we'll fine tune our revenue projections at the fall meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Before we move on, is there any questions that anybody has of Kim? Well, thank you very much, Kim, for that information. Under 7, we have the informational report from the Michigan State Police Sergeant Ryan Werner. Before I call on you, Sergeant Werner, I'd just like to make a brief comment on behalf of the Mackinac Bridge Authority of how much we appreciate the good service and the outstanding working relationship the Bridge Authority has enjoyed with the Michigan State Police for so many years. And it's wonderful, the partnership that we have up there. And if you would pass that along to all the state troopers and everybody else that has been involved with a great working relationship. With that being said, Sergeant Werner.
Good morning. Thank you for those kind words, and I will relay that message for everybody. Before I begin, I just want to confirm everybody can hear me okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a slide I can share to you real quick here. Just going over some of the numbers that we've generated over the last year. Basically what we have is for the total hours worked at the Mackinac Bridge, we have 542 hours, and then of that, there was some overtime hours that were granted. Is everybody able to see the screen I'm sharing right now?
Yes.
Okay. So here's basically just a citation information form, kind of a broad spectrum of different areas that we're seeing our key enforcement in. As you'll notice under weight enforcement, that is by far our highest category. In there also, the follow too close and the passing on the Mackinac Bridge with the CMVs is also a higher category. Amongst the other things, we have our general equipment, everything else, which is obviously noticeable on there. But those areas of size and weight and the passing on the bridge are areas that we continue to see address, and we're still seeing a lot of amounts of that area. And then we have a breakdown here of the quarters of our weight citation estimated amounts. As you can see here, we have the high of 38,727, 276, and then 32,578, and then 20,723. I have one more slide I want to share with you. So is this one sharing right now? It's a chart title.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a 5-year projection report that we've created. As of right now, we have 2019 and 2020. The areas that we declined in over the last year here, our patrol hours went down. But as you can see, our amount of traffic stops, citations, weight enforcement, and inspections all increased, regardless of the decline in the patrol hours. Page 2 of this here is basically a breakdown of the last chart I showed you, but the one area I wanted to point out is the weight enforcement. Last year we totaled $40,038 in fines, where this year we've significantly risen to $113,304. So our areas of the overweight enforcement have significantly went up. With that, does anybody have any questions regarding any of the activity reports that I just presented?
How do you identify weight issues and challenges?
So with the Mackinac Bridge, there's different screening tools that we have. They're called WIMS, which stands for Weigh in Motion. And right now we have one for the southbound direction just before the tolls. And then if you're northbound, we have one before the Mackinac Bridge. Those devices are basically scales that are built underneath the highway. And these ones here are very unique because they actually take a picture of the truck that goes over that. It detects speed and the amount of weight on individual axles. So when a truck comes across those, it sends a red flag up whether that truck is overweight or if it is not. And typically we have our officers in position to hopefully get them stopped before they cross the Mackinac Bridge, which would cause the infrastructure damage. And right here at the tolls, there is a platform scale, which we do utilize quite often. On the south side of the bridge in the Mackinac City rest area, there's cutouts. So we utilize those quite frequently to make sure we get the truck's weight up in there.
This may be a stupid question, but do operators willingly run overweight, or some of them unknowingly do so?
It can be a matter of both. We try to do different time frames where people are working, just to try to keep them guessing on when we're going to be here and in different areas. Typically, from my experience, a lot of the industry is what's called a misload, which means they're under their gross weight and they're under the allowable gross weight of the Mackinac Bridge. But due to the positioning of the load or how they have their air suspension, which is what regulates what each axle can carry on that trailer and truck, a lot of times it's just a driver error, which resulted in the significant overweight. But we do see times where we get them over gross. We did have a stretch during the primary COVID time when cattle prices and stuff like that were going up. We were seeing an increase in cattle haulers running over gross, which we addressed that issue with a few of the companies, made contact with the carriers and informed them that they're going to keep being addressed with that issue, which in return, we've gained the compliance. We have not been seeing that issue since then.
Thank you.
Bill, that was a great question, actually. Just making sure that those trucks are being stopped before crossing the bridge is huge, and thank you for that. That's very important for our infrastructure.
Thank you,
Does
Sergeant.
anybody?
Yeah, If there's no additional questions for the sergeant, we will move on. And Sergeant Werner, once again, I want to thank you for all the cooperation and great working relationship we've had. Any further questions of the sergeant? Hearing none, we'll move right on to old business. In item 8, we have the annual bridge walk. It's informational that will be presented by James Lake. James?
Yep. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I think it's funny that I am presenting to you virtually today about our first entirely virtual public meeting that we had back on May 13th. I'll wait for my slides here. So apologies if I'm covering things that all the board members know from that other meeting, but wanted to cover most of the high points from the special meeting and the decision to cancel the bridge walk for this year. Next slide, please, Melissa. So the need to meet virtually, as well as that main agenda item, the bridge walk, was prompted, of course, by the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting stay home, stay safe orders from Governor Whitmer. Another executive order, 2020-75, that is the executive order that made it possible for us to have that public meeting virtually. That's since been updated to 2020-129, which carries us through the end of July. The requirements of those executive orders included the need to provide an electronic means to participate, such as a video conference like we're doing, or a teleconference. We need to allow the two-way communication, and we need to post advance notice, including explanation for participation and ways to contact the board, as well as participation by persons with disabilities. Next slide. So while there are several virtual meeting platforms available, such as Zoom and RingCentral, among others, we had some limitations based on security concerns about which ones we could use. State of Michigan now is using Microsoft Teams pretty extensively for virtual meetings, and we have used it for a few public meetings, the Teams Live format, though it seems like it is not yet as broadly used as some other platforms. We ended up settling on Teams to conduct the meeting as we're doing today, but to broadcast that, to complement that with a broadcast on YouTube and live stream with closed captioning. And that's because a combination of things. We've used live stream in the past to broadcast MBA meetings, so it's familiar to many regular viewers in that way. And YouTube is a fairly ubiquitous platform we thought would be comfortable for people to view on. We also, recognizing that not everyone would want to comment virtually during a meeting, we set up a special temporary email address shown on the screen to collect questions and comments prior to the meeting. We used a slightly different alias, but the same email inbox, MBA meeting at michigan.gov, to collect public comments today as well. Next slide. We did post several meeting notices in several different locations. Our initial news release included the COVID-19 concerns as the reason for this virtual format, links to participate, and information for people with disabilities to seek accommodations. Our follow-up release, because things were kind of in flux those few days before that meeting, our follow-up release had those YouTube and live stream links for people to participate, as well as that temporary email address. The meeting notice and agenda were posted to the MBA website and cross-promoted on the MDOT and MBA Twitter pages, as well as the MDOT Facebook page. Several news outlets did pick up and run stories and articles about the upcoming meeting prior to the meeting. Next slide. So anybody viewing today is going to be familiar with this view. This is a view of our live stream broadcast. And as of June 24th, when I put together this presentation, we had 830 people watch either the live version or the recorded version that was posted following the meeting. As different board members and staff spoke, as is occurring today, they were featured on the main screen. Next slide, please. In the view of the YouTube broadcast, we had 126 people view that as of June 24th. As you'll recall, we did receive a few comments through the YouTube and live stream chat functions, and we received one comment and 2 inquiries via email. Monica Mansma, our public involvement specialist and hearings officer, Margaret Barendess, the MDOT Environmental Services Section Manager, and I took turns during that public comment period to read those comments that we received. Next slide. In the evening following that board decision, we sent out a news release announcing the bridge walk had been suspended with the expectation that it would resume in 2021. We did see some questioning why the decision was made so far in advance. We covered that extensively during the meeting, those months of planning that go into putting the event on. And certainly some expressions of disappointment from the public. But we also heard some supportive comments from people who had independently made their own decision that they would not be participating in an event like this due to the pandemic. The decision was covered pretty extensively by news agencies, and there seemed to be a greater acceptance, I'd say, of the decision compared to the closure of the bridge to traffic during the walk. We know there was a lot of objection to that, and later that decision to eliminate busing from the event. So overall, staff and our supporting colleagues at MDOT view that first public virtual meeting as a success based on the numbers of people who participated online. We reached far more people than we would have during an ordinary public meeting, and retained the ability for the public to comment during the meeting. I would like to thank Kim and all the board members for being so flexible with this new process and that continued flexibility today. Monica Mansma and Margaret Barendess for their assistance in planning and executing the meeting. Melissa DeKaiser and Carrie Dorenbecker at the MBA for their work with the meeting postings and web updates. Jesse Ball, the MDOT social media specialist. Jeff Cranston, MDOT's Director of Communications, for their help in publicizing the meeting. Corey Peedy, who is assisting us again today, MDOT's video specialist who set up those YouTube and live stream simulcasts. And then Kathleen Gleason from the Attorney General's office for ensuring that we're meeting all the requirements for these virtual public meetings. That concludes my presentation. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, James. Excellent presentation. Is there any questions that any of the board members have of James? Once again, thanks, James, and we'll move right along under old business. Again, item 9, toll bridge software status update. This is informational. And good morning, Cammie. If you'd give us a presentation, we'd appreciate it.
So the Mackinac Bridge Authority, the IBI group, and Pagan, we still meet on conference calls. We've been meeting weekly. We are moving to either biweekly or monthly due to our system acceptance testing being completed. We have not closed on the SAT yet, but we are working towards closing on the SAT and moving into the maintenance phase. IBI group maintenance staff are on site routinely until the stay-at-home order. They are still available to all of us 24/7. They answer questions, they assist us with logins, and they have been great through all of this confusing time. So they've been very helpful. Right now, we are working towards extending phase 3 contract with Fagan Consulting. Phase 3 is a follow-up and support phase, which consists of monitoring IBI contractual performance and general system performance. They review results of the SOC audits. They generate system vendor change orders. And as Fagan has done over in the past 2 years, they will continue to ensure MBA is made aware of project risks with recommended action plans to mitigate those risks. Phase 3 contract for Fagan is not to exceed $194,000 yearly. We are under budget, so that is completely within our budgeted amounts that we have had in the past for Fagan. Can you go to the next slide, Melissa? As you can see, the MacPass tags distributed since we have gone live is 25,623 tags up through June 30th. That is a lot of tags. Can you move to the next slide, Melissa? So this is the MacPass usage type. So back in September, our MacPass tags versus MacPass commuter cards was 2.2%. And as of June 30th, our MacPass tags in comparison with the commuter cards is 57.6%. So we have utilized the MacPass tags, and they have been a very useful tool in converting from not being able to use cash over the past couple months. And this is just an update today. As of July 1st through today, we have a request for 229 new tags or new accounts, and we have 263 tag requests. So we are continuing on with the new MacPass tags, and so far so good. Any questions?
Thank you, Cammie. Are there any further questions of Cammie's report? I just have one brief comment. I'm a firm believer of giving credit where credit's due. And prior to making this change, there were some former board members that put a lot of time and energy into the success that we have now with all these updates. And I'd like to thank Barbara Aarons, Barbara Brown, former Chair Janotke, and the former Director of MDOT, Kirk Steidel. They put a lot of time and effort to it, and we're really seeing the benefits of their hard labor. So on behalf of the authority, I just wanted to thank them. If there's no further...
I have a question, please. How does the sales of the MacPass, how does that affect our payroll at the toll booths? Or does it?
Cammie, did you hear that question?
I did. Currently, right now, it doesn't affect our payroll as we're still trying to implement all of the MacPass tags and not the commuter cards. Our commuter cards are expiring on December 31st. So currently, right now, it does not affect our payroll at this point. That's not to say that it won't in the future, but right now it does not.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, still under old business. Agenda item number 10, the South Tower painting project. Once again, it's an informational update about the project. Kim, if you'd be kind enough to proceed with that.
Okay, Shorty said it's item number 10 in your booklet, and I included this picture here. It shows the access method that Seaway Painting is using right now during this summer. Last year, they did the upper portions of the tower. This summer, they're working on the lower portions. So this picture is taken as if you were down at the tower pedestal, standing on the concrete there and looking up under the bridge. You can see the open grating there. You can see the road deck. So we're looking up through the scaffolding in this picture here. Melissa, if you could change it, please. And there's that scaffolding that's used from all the way from the concrete pedestal up to the roadway and beyond, a little bit up to the top of the tower hanger shroud. And so those areas are all getting 4 coats of paint. We added a special coating to help preserve the paint system there. Normal paint has 3 coats, but we added the special coating. So the entire outside is getting sandblasted and painted, and then select areas of the inside are also getting sandblasted and painted. And if you could change the slide, please. This shows some of that inside work. The picture on the left shows a process we call striping. It's where they go and they use brushes to paint the areas that are really hard to reach with a spray nozzle. They do that ahead of time so they can make sure they have the proper amount of paint on there. You can imagine how hard it would be to aim a spray nozzle into some of those corners. So then they get the right amount of paint on there, and then they come back with the spray equipment and spray the coat on the rest of it. And the picture on the right shows our finished product, and we have specified a white top coat on the inside of the towers, which is nice for us, brightens it up, and it was a good choice for the inside of the towers. I think that's probably the last slide. Seaway is about 60% done with the project, and they had a little, about a month-long delay this spring with the virus delays before they got organized and ready to roll. So they're chugging right along right now.
Thank you, Kim. Excellent report, and it certainly is good to see all the progress being made on painting of that South Tower. Are there any members wishing to have any comments or questions about the project, the South Tower painting project? Thank you, Kim.
Shorty, I'd like to interrupt here. Melissa needs to reload the slideshow so she can get the sound. We're going to have some audio coming up and video. So she wants to take a little break here to reload that so she can turn on the audio portion. So
do we need to have a for this?
No, she'll just do it right now. And
okay.
I just wanted to let you know that she's going to do that.
Well, I tell you, as quick and as efficient as Melissa is, I know why she doesn't need a recess. She's very good.
Very true.
With that being said, if there's no further questions of Kim pertaining to the South Tower painting project, we'll move right on to item 11 under old business, and we'll have the report from Julie, our chief engineer on maintenance projects. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Shorty. How are you?
Very good. Never had a bad day in my life.
That's excellent. I will wait then until the slideshow comes back up.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, as always, express our appreciation to all the staff up there with the good work they're doing on the maintaining the bridge. I think with member Steido's comment earlier, because of their good work, we were able to push off the redecking of that bridge. It's certainly a reflection on what a good job they do in maintaining that bridge.
Yes, they do. They're a really good crew, and I really have enjoyed working with them over the years. Okay, well, I will get started with my presentation.
Very good.
Yes, I'll be talking about maintenance projects that we're working on this year. This year we had a slow start to our season because of the pandemic. It wasn't until June 1st that all of our employees were back to work, and now that they're here, they are working hard to make up for lost time. And I'll be talking about just a few of the projects that they're working on. First of all, every year we wash the bridge. It's important to get all the road sand and whatnot off the bridge. And we've always had an issue with the points. And on your slide there, oh, and by the way, the slide is an older slide. It was taken back when we were painting one of the side spans. And so you can see, you know, there's different coats of paint and whatnot. So it's certainly not a current slide, but this particular picture shows well the points that are in the red box there. It's where the truss vertical, horizontal, and diagonal members come together, and they are connected by a gusset plate. And the configuration of that connection really kind of collects debris. And so we really need to get that cleaned out. Over the years, we have worked on increasing the pressure of the water that we shoot down to clean various parts of the bridge. You know, the water truck sits on the deck, and we have to drop about 40 feet to hit that lower point there to clean that out. So we have the pressure now, and then this year they've devised a new method to better direct the flow of water into that point. And so the vertical member is actually a box beam. And so they've figured out a way to get their hoses directly into that box beam and shoot directly into the point, and clearing out the road sand and other debris in that point area. So we've had quite a bit of success with that, and we're pretty happy with that. Next slide, please. Another repair we're working on is, of course, our bridge deck joints. Anybody who has worked on a bridge know that joints are an endless problem. So typically, you can see in the slide, we typically have concrete deterioration. And in some cases, when that concrete deteriorates, the joint, which is the steel part, you can see there in the slide as well, that becomes unsupported. The concrete, when it deteriorates, the steel is unsupported and it starts to flex. And over time, the continual flexing of that steel causes it to fail. So we are, whenever we do repair a joint, it typically involves both concrete repair and steel replacement and welding as well. And next slide. This is a picture of our toll plaza. Another joint type that we're working on is sealing the relief joints in the plaza. We're using a urethane product, as well as on the next slide, Melissa, we're using also a hot poured rubber to seal those joints. The plaza concrete is 17 inches thick, not reinforced, and it's considered a European style concrete. And to my knowledge, there aren't many cross sections like that in the state of Michigan, so it's quite a lot of concrete. We placed that concrete in 1995, so it's 25 years old, and it's actually in really good shape. So we would like to keep it that way, and therefore we're taking out the old joint material, putting in new joint material, and in an effort to keep that water out of the concrete. Next slide. Cole, he is our new assistant engineer. So Cole and I have been working on a project that will be implemented later in the season by our maintenance employees. We are working on our cross beams, and I think some of the members, older members especially, know that cross beams are kind of an ongoing repair for us on the bridge. And some of these cross beams are near the towers, and those cross beams are in need of attention now. This is a little bit more complicated repair, because at the tower cross beams we have a 2.5-foot link bolt that goes through that cross beam, and so we have to take that into consideration when we are making our repair. So we're working on a slightly modified detail than we would normally have for our cross beams. And again, we're working on that now, and we will implement that later in the year. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions.
I so enjoy hearing about all the activities, Julie. Thank you so much for the pictures. It really helps to visualize the hard work that's going on.
You're very welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for our chief engineer, Julie? Hearing none, we'll keep Julie close, and we'll start the discussion as for informational purposes only, the changeable decorative lighting on the Mackinac Bridge. Julie, if you would please start that as well.
Yes, I would like to introduce Cole Cavalieri. He is our new assistant bridge engineer, and he's been with us since February. In the short time that he's been with us, I've been very impressed with Cole and his many abilities, and he also seems to be a really good fit here with our environment at the Mackinac Bridge. And he is going to tell you a little bit more about himself during his presentation, so I will turn it over to Cole.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate those kind words. I'm very happy to be here and to work with everyone, and it has been a good fit for me already, and hopefully will continue to be so. So I'll be talking about changeable decorative lighting on the Mackinac Bridge, and since this is my first board meeting, I was just going to talk a little bit about myself. So I am a native Yooper. I was born and raised in Iron Mountain, Michigan, over on the west side of the UP. I first went south of the bridge to attend Michigan State University, where I studied civil engineering with a focus on structures. After that, I worked in the private sector for a while, got some good experience before joining MDOT's bridge design team in Lansing, and now I'm happy to be here at the bridge. The bridge has always been an important spot for me. You can kind of see on the map there is kind of the halfway point between my hometown and where I've been living the last several years. So I've always enjoyed crossing the bridge, and it's been special to me. So I'm happy to be here and look forward to helping preserve such a great structure. So back to my presentation. Next slide, Melissa. Why? Why are we talking about changeable lighting on the Mackinac Bridge? Next slide, Melissa. So to me, I think the biggest reason why is the Mackinac Bridge is a state symbol. It's used by businesses. It's used as T-shirts. It's on every Michigan state driver's license. It's a very visible symbol of the state. A lot of people are invested in it, and we get a lot of requests about the lighting as a way to kind of support different causes. And like I said, the public is very invested in the bridge, and the lighting is part of that. So next slide. Along with that, the technology for lighting is advancing, just like technology everywhere, including wireless technology and everything. And there are many cities and places throughout the world that are incorporating more and more advanced lighting options. So I have a couple examples here just to kind of show what technology is out there and what some other places are doing. So the first example I want to show is a bridge many of us are probably familiar with because it's located in Grand Rapids. It's a lot smaller scale than the Mackinac Bridge. It's a pedestrian bridge, but it underwent a lighting project in 2013 to the price of $1.3 million. That wasn't only lighting in that cost because they also did some rehabilitation to that bridge. But the city incorporated this lighting, and it can change colors, and they actually allow people or groups to request different lighting for different events for a fee. So they kind of use it as a funding source. But obviously it's a lot smaller scale than the Mackinac Bridge. So this next example is kind of the high end of what you can do with lighting. This was a project done in 2019 down in Florida. It's a lot closer to the scale of the Mackinac Bridge, over 4 miles long. And this project was done in 2019 for the cost of $15 million, and that was on lighting alone. So that kind of shows you how advanced these things can get and the cost kind of associated with some of that. But their lighting, they actually incorporated 1,800 LED lights into their piers and superstructure, and they actually have animated programs. Similarly to the Mackinac Bridge, this project was funded by tolls, which many of the Mackinac Bridge's projects are funded by the tolls. This picture shows one of their templates. You can see the different colors there. And on the next slide, I actually have a short video of, if it works, of what their system kind of does. And this is their Veterans Day display. And you can see the lights even move and change color. And it's just very interesting to see what technology is out there and the things different places are doing. And then the last example I was going to show is a suspension bridge, very similar to the Mackinac Bridge out in San Francisco. This is the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. This one was done in 2013, and it was meant to be a temporary installation. It was privately funded by contributions, and they installed 250,000 LED lights, as you can see in these pictures, throughout the suspender cables and throughout the span. And this one can do quite advanced animations and things. And it was so popular, they actually decided to make it permanent. So that initial installation cost $8 million. And in order to make it permanent, it cost another $4 million a couple years after, in 2014, I believe. And there are some costs along with those initial costs. This bridge, they actually put aside $250,000 annually just for maintenance on the lights. And they also estimate that it costs about $30 a day just to have the lights on. But it was popular, and they voted to keep it. I know it's a big tourism draw for the area. So next slide. So that brings us to the Mackinac Bridge and what could be done for the Mackinac Bridge. There are some considerations that we have to keep in mind. First and foremost is safety. Lighting is important for the safety of the traveling public. And we'd have to make sure that lights aren't going to be distracting, or we keep safety at the forefront in terms of lighting, as well as it'd have to follow all the Federal Aviation Administration requirements for lighting. We are, with those towers being so high, we do have some airplanes that fly around, and we need to make sure we follow all of their requirements. The Mackinac Bridge is also a historic civil engineering landmark, which means it doesn't need it. We want to keep its historic look, both because it's a beautiful bridge as is, and being a historic landmark, there are some requirements about keeping the appearance as its historic look. It would be, we'd have to coordinate with the State Historic Preservation Organization to maintain a similar look, to keep that historic look of the bridge. Unique to the Mackinac Bridge compared to some of those examples I showed also is the Mackinac Bridge is located in a rural area, so light pollution is a concern. Nearby, down by Mackinac City, we have the Headlands International Dark Sky Park nearby, and the more light you put in an area, the more light pollution, and the harder it is to see the sky. And as you can see in that picture there, we even can get the northern lights here. So we don't want to take away from the dark sky by adding a bunch of lights necessarily. And then, of course, the last consideration is a cost. Next slide, Melissa. So what I investigated was just changing out the cable lights. It would kind of help some of those concerns because we wouldn't be adding a ton of fixtures to the bridge. We wouldn't have to install a bunch of new fixtures to the piers or anything, and it kind of keeps the look of the bridge the same. So what I'm talking about is in this picture, you can see those, they're amber in this picture just on the cables there. So that's a way we could, if we could somehow get those to be remotely controlled, we could kind of give it that versatility, but keep the overall look the same. So that's kind of what I investigated. Next slide, please. So our existing system consists, it's fairly simple actually. It's a light fixture. We have 100-watt LED bulbs that plug in, and then they are encased in a glass globe, similarly to what is shown. And that glass globe currently is what gives the lights their color. So in order to change the lights, we have to do it manually. And it's pretty intensive. We have to get out there, we have to bring the globes, change them out. They can be unwieldy. They have some weight to them and going up and down the cables. And that's actually why in 2015, the Mackinac Bridge Authority board voted to no longer change the lights or accept special lighting requests just because of the costs involved for the labor, and it was kind of deemed as an unnecessary risk because it is a risk to the employees to get out there, especially if you're changing them all the time. So in 2015, the board actually voted to no longer change the lights. Next slide. Awesome. So some cost considerations even to do just change the cable lights, because you can go out to any hardware store and there are options out there for changeable light bulbs, but whether or not they'd actually function out on the cables in the extreme conditions experienced by the bridge is unlikely. So we probably would have to alter our system in some way. There are specialized architectural lighting, as shown here, that are built for harsh conditions, but that would mean we'd have to change out our existing fixtures, as well as currently we provide power out to the lights, but they have no way to communicate with each other. So we'd also have to add some kind of way for them to communicate, whether it's hardwiring them together or getting a wireless system installed out on the bridge, which kind of presents its own challenges. So there would be some installation, even just doing the cable lights, of new equipment. And along with that initial cost, there'd likely be a maintenance cost, both on the software that would control the lights and on the lights themselves, as well as an administrative cost. If we implement a changing light program with the bridge, allow the public or groups to request it, it would have to be run, that program would have to be run, and there would be a cost and labor to just running that system as well. So just some costs to keep in mind. It is a unique structure, so it's hard to get an exact cost of what it could be. There are companies that specialize in this sort of structural lighting, but the Mackinac Bridge is such a unique environment that it's hard to get a good cost estimate of what this might take. But based on what I've found with other structures, it can be a pretty high price tag, but just some things to keep in mind if we ever do try to look at this in the future. Some more options may have to be investigated. Next slide, Melissa. But if it was, some things we could maybe do. These were some mock-ups done actually by Julie's son, Dan. You could change kind of the look of the bridge with like a holiday theme as shown here. Next slide. Or changing it for the 4th of July, which we just had. Next slide. Or a rainbow theme, just some different things. If we could change out those lights and get them somehow remotely controlled, you could do. So there's different options out there. Last slide. So in conclusion, this is something that the technology is advancing. It is out there, but there are some costs to it, and has some potential, but it'd have to be investigated a little bit further before we could truly figure out exactly what we could do to get it done. But, any questions?
Cole, would you describe the light technology to us of direct, indirect lighting, incandescent LED? What are we utilizing there, please?
So currently the cable lights are all LEDs. They've been changed out kind of throughout the years as they've gone out. And so far what I've found, most of these structures that do this, it's all LED now, which is a more cost-effective way of lighting things. LEDs just take a lot less power to have the same lighting effect as incandescent bulbs, like what was used in the past. So basically what I've seen so far is they're all LED lighting, but there's also a software to them as far as a way to program them and communicate. So in order for us to implement this, say on the Mackinac Bridge, we would need to be able to string out either some Cat5 cable that we have to make sure is strong enough to withstand the conditions, or somehow get a wireless system out there. And there are different options, but obviously they each have their costs. One I investigated was putting all the software out on the bridge, so it wouldn't have to come back to shore necessarily, but it would have to be hardwired together out on the bridge. And that estimate came back to just under $700,000 in material alone. So that was none of the labor in terms of installing it, but just to get the controllers and the lighting fixtures, the products, is a pretty high price. So,
Mr. Chair, if I might ask a question. Thanks, Cole. This is Tricia Kinley. Thanks for the presentation. That was really very informative, I think, for us. And clearly, there is some public interest in doing this. Some people request this. So I think having it all laid out there, both your examples as well as the risks to employees and costs, et cetera. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Quick question. You mentioned that the existing system would need to be changed to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Special lighting requests aside, what is the shelf life or life expectancy of the current existing system? So if we were not even looking at interchangeable colored lights, how long would the existing system last?
So there was an electrical upgrade done back in the 2000s, and I believe that has another several years. Julie or Kim may know better than me as far as what that life, when that project was put in, what it was extended out to. But I know that by changing out the bulbs and making them LED, we've been able to utilize the same system, but make it more effective by when that electrical upgrade was done, it was done for incandescent bulbs, and now they're all LEDs. So they're taking a lot less power, and they are in pretty good shape. We actually went out last week and looked at the cable lights and our controllers out there, and everything. I was pretty impressed at the condition they're in. So as far as an exact life expectancy, what's left, like I said, Julie may be able to point that out better, but they are in good condition as is.
I would agree with that, Cole. Yes, the current system is in good shape. And like Cole mentioned, we did upgrade that, and I think it was 1999. And so that's on our first system, that's a life expectancy. We got about 40 years out of it, and I would imagine we're going to get a similar number of years out of this current system. It's in good shape.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cole. And on behalf of the Mackinac Bridge Authority, we'd like to officially say welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you in the future, and you're going to be a huge asset to the Mackinac Bridge Authority. I just do have one quick question, being that you grew up in the Iron Mountain area. How many times you won the International Ski Jumping Championship at Pine Mountain?
I've attended. I have not participated before.
I thought maybe that's where you got your background with heights.
Yeah, no, I've just been an observer, so haven't been able to get up and slide down the jump. But thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that welcome.
Well, welcome, and it's really exciting to have you on board. If there's no further questions of Cole, we'll go right ahead and move on.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment, maybe possibly a motion. First, Cole, thank you for the presentation. I thought it was very good how you covered the whole spectrum. So to kind of give a quick background of how this whole thing started, there was a request right after COVID started that we changed the lights on Mackinac. Then I realized that we couldn't do that. It's a one track lighting system. So I asked our secretary to look into this and see what are the possibilities of doing something like this to match what Blue Water Bridge does. And that's where we're at. I would like to make a motion that we have staff continue the next step, which is come back to us with a presentation of costs from the most simple conversion to LED lighting to the other extreme. Not this San Francisco $12 million type of lighting, but something in between. So we get an idea of, I think it's an iconic bridge. We all take pride in it. And anything that we can do to keep making it look attractive to tourists and people outside of Michigan, I think we should consider it. So if it's okay, I would like to make a motion that we authorize staff to continue researching this, maybe come back with a presentation on cost.
Your motion is in order, Director Ajaba. I'm just waiting on support. Is there support to the motion?
Bill will support that motion.
Very good. Excellent. Is there any further discussion on the motion to have staff look further into the cost of the lighting of the Mackinac Bridge?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kirk Steidel. I would, first of all, I support looking into that. I think it's a great idea. I remember the initial conversations with former Executive Secretary Sweeney about possibly doing that. I do, and I am mindful of the discussion we had then, and Cole mentioned the light pollution, right? So I think we should exclude the options that are, lots of lights everywhere that are really going to be offensive to the surrounding community, and just focus on what's realistic. And I think the staff probably do that anyways because they're residents and they live there. But I think being mindful of that environment would be very helpful. But other than that, I completely support it.
That is an excellent point, Kurt. Thank you for bringing that up.
This is Caroline Cheeseman, and as someone who looks at that bridge out my front window, if I didn't have a job, it would be 24/7. I second what Kurt said. Some of those displays, and I know that that's not necessarily what we're looking into, but I find some of those displays to be
gaudy,
over the top, and I would be greatly displeased as a resident of the local area to see those on the bridge. That's just my opinion. But I do hope people will take into consideration the folks that live here and have for many, many years. And I wouldn't be opposed if it's an easy fix and not too terribly expensive to different colors, but some of those displays I would not be in favor of.
It's not the gateway to Disney World, right?
No.
Right.
In fact, most people think it's the gateway to their own private state park, but.
Yes, absolutely. Great point.
Thank you, Caroline, for your input.
You're welcome.
Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Yes, I'd like to add something else. I'm a believer in the dark sky philosophy too. And my question to Cole, I mentioned direct and indirect lighting. And direct lighting, spotlight type lighting is the kind of thing that I think Caroline can see from her home and is offended by. And that's something that I hope we can avoid if we talk about a new plan for lighting for the bridge.
Thank you, Bill, for your input. That certainly will be the number one priority for staff to look into. We certainly don't want to change the nightly environment up there at the Straits of Mackinac. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Kim, would you call a roll, please?
Yes, I will. Chairman Gleason?
Yes.
Vice Chair Trahey?
Yes.
Director Ajaba?
Yes.
Member Steidel?
Yes.
Member Kinley?
Yes.
Member Milliken? I think you're muted, but I thought I saw you saying yes. Member Milliken?
Saying yes. Excuse me.
Okay. Member Cheeseman?
Yes.
Yes, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Director, for the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Under old business, item 13, I would like to call on the chair of the social media committee right now. Tricia, would you care to share the wonderful work you and Kim have been doing? Or you and Kip, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So, and I think Kip Vaughn, are you on as well? Just want to make sure that Kip is on, and then I'll get started. Kim, do you know if Kip is on or coming on?
Yes, he should be coming on.
Okay. I'll just open it up real quick while he's getting ready. So for those of you, especially brand new members, we just wanted to give a quick update on the Mackinac Bridge Authority's social media efforts, and specifically, I'd say sort of a slice of that, specifically the Twitter page. In early 2019, we explored the possibility of expanding our reach through this extra medium, and we gained board approval to look into whether having a bridge Twitter page feed, if you will, specifically devoted just to the bridge was a viable option, and the board gave its blessing. And in working with bridge staff, MDOT staff, and DTMB staff, we concluded that it was not only a viable option, but it would be preferable to have an official bridge Twitter page feed of its own, somewhat worked through MDOT as well. But I wanted to have a quick update that Kip will give. I feel it's been a huge success, and I think due in no small part to that team effort, and specifically to Kip Vaughn, has done a tremendous job with this Twitter feed. And we wanted to make sure it wasn't coming at the expense of time spent on critical infrastructure, the real needs of the bridge. I'll let Kip speak for himself on that effort and the training he's done in just a sort of a surgical way. But I do want to make sure to really give Kip a shout out, because he took the ball and ran with it. We had an initial effort that was sort of focused on fun and historical, while also providing some logistical content. And then in the virus, I think it's taken more of that angle, but that's my intro. I think if Kip is on, I do want to just say thank you to him and the folks at DTMB and MDOT for helping, make it become a reality and just running with it. So I think if Kip on, Kip,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yes, I am on, Tricia, and thank you for that introduction. I'm not sure what happened with my camera, but it seemed to kick me off. I've been sitting on the meeting since the beginning for this morning. So again, thank you though, Tricia, and hello everyone. Welcome new board members. I look forward to working with you both. As Tricia was saying, the goal of adding a Twitter page for the Mackinac Bridge has been to provide new and updated ways to connect with the community that we serve, and provide real-time updates for weather, traffic, and event-related activities on the bridge. So I gathered some information on the next few slides that really gets me excited to kind of show you how we're achieving that goal and show in the short term how successful this has been to date. So next slide, Melissa. So for the time frame from January to March of 2020, the page was visited over 11,000 times. We tweeted 239 times, and the engagement rate of our page at a 0.08 was the highest of all MDOT Twitter profiles. In that same time period, we had 1.4 million impressions. So what does that all mean, right? I contacted Jesse Ball from MDOT Communications to give me some more details on what an impression is and how engagement rate is calculated. And I found that the engagement rate is calculated by Twitter, and it takes the number of engagements. So that's clicks, retweets, replies, follows, likes, and it divides it by the total number of impressions, which is the times that a person saw our tweet or media on Twitter. And what that essentially tells us is that our numbers tell us essentially that our followers are truly interested in our postings and are viewing what we post on the platform. They're interacting with us via social media, whether it's liking a post, commenting, or sharing it with others. And to give a comparison of the next closest page to us in regards to engagement rate throughout those same months, it was Superior Region at a 0.6, with considerably more followers than us at 7,300. Since March of 2019, when we first started this page a little over a year ago, we've grown to over 5,000 followers. I believe we're currently at 5,200 right now, and we continue to add more followers every month. If you could go to the next slide, Melissa. This slide shows some various popular pages and organizations that follow us and retweet what we are posting on a daily basis. You have Wood TV out of West Michigan. You have Up North Live that covers the UP, Mid Michigan, which covers Flint, Saginaw, and Bay City, and Detroit news stations as well. We also have Pure Michigan that follows us. You can go to the next slide, Melissa. This slide shows various tweets that we've utilized to provide weather-related events and activities that are occurring on the bridge in a new format versus just posting what we used to do on the website when we had a bridge event occurring. As you can see, we have bridge events, weather, various traffic tweets available to update the customers and followers on a daily basis. Bridge service staff at the Mackinac Bridge assist with posting appropriate weather and traffic related tweets on a daily basis and help to keep the most relevant and current information on the forefront of the page. Go to the next slide, Melissa. This slideshow shows some of the more popular tweets that have spread across Twitter and the internet. And if we remember what an impression is, which is the amount of times people saw the tweet, these are some of our most engaging and liked tweets. We have the Labor Day tweet, which was viewed over 23,000 times. We have the Thunderbirds when they flew over the bridge last summer. That was viewed over 34,000 times. And we have the fog tweet in the bottom left-hand corner there, which was a picture taken by one of our maintenance employees while they were up in the tower. That was viewed over 36,000 times. So that's just some exciting and cool statistics that kind of get me, it makes me feel good. You know, we see that people are actually looking at our content. You can go to the next slide, Melissa. And I'm hoping that this works. This is a great example of how Twitter profile and presence has expanded people's awareness of the Mackinac Bridge and reached new platforms. There was a weather-related tweet from our page back in January of this year, which is on the right side of the slide. It caught the eye of a meteorologist who works for the Weather Channel, and he actually decided to make a video based off our tweet with the little bridge graphics. I attached the video, we had sound working, and then I believe, you know, there was some technical difficulties. I don't know if the sound's gonna work, but essentially he uses our tweet to make a video on the Weather Channel of how lake effect snow is born. And if you just want to play it through, Melissa, we can show them some of the graphics, at least, that he used. He got the graphics right on. I can tell you that he pronounced Mackinac Bridge appropriately. But this is all because of a tweet from our page, which I thought was very cool. The video is still uploaded to the Weather Channel website and available for anybody to watch. It's just exciting to think about this video making people aware of the Mackinac Bridge that may have never heard of us before just because of our page. So I feel it's disappointing that you guys can't hear it, but it's very, very exciting. It was really cool. It was like a that's really awesome moment. You got the graphics there, even with the snowfall falling down. My only apology is that it is speaking about snow, and so we're going to be getting that in a couple months from now. So I'm not trying to rush through the summertime. And it's only like a 59-second video, really short, but it was really cool moment. So in summary, this is just a brief snapshot of our Twitter presence and what it's accomplished in a little over a year. I know personally that when Board Member Kinley and I started talking about the idea of what this could be and what we could do with it, there was really no way of telling that it would be this successful this early. But it's just exciting to see where we'll be in the months and years going forward, and I look forward to helping it continue to grow. Are there any questions?
As always, Skip, very good, excellent report. And thank you for all the good work that you do up there as far as getting the Mackinac Bridge known more across not only the United States, but the world in many cases. Is there any other questions of Kip before we, and Tricia, equally, thank you as well.
Yeah.
An excellent chair in that committee.
My pleasure, and thanks to Kip.
Okay, under new business, item 14, pandemic, new normal at the Mackinac Bridge. This is also information by Kip. Go ahead, Kip, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Shorty. So there have been a lot of changes to occur since we first heard of COVID, and these changes have affected everyone in some shape or form. And the workplace has really been no exception to that, as we can see right now, that we're all meeting on the Microsoft Teams. I was asked to present on how the pandemic has changed the daily activities at the MBA and created the new normal that we see today. So next slide, Melissa, please. This slide is just a general summary of the new normal guidance document provided by MDOT, and it was just recently released. I believe it's in all of your packets. My presentation is going to detail how every department within the MBA has applied these rules to remain safe and continue to provide the excellent service expected of us. The guidance document summary covers social distancing, the use and requirement of face masks when 6 feet distance between individuals cannot be maintained, cleaning commonly shared areas, and how to handle and manage a situation if a positive test occurs in the work area. You can go to the next slide, Melissa. Thank you. Starting with admin, the staff has been working from home with 1 to 2 days in the office. Typically, these days are not full 8-hour days. Just a few hours used to catch up on everything that we cannot get done from home. We have the use of Microsoft Teams versus in-group face-to-face meetings that have played a major role in allowing us to communicate with each other on a daily basis. We have installed hand sanitizer pumps throughout all of the buildings at major touch point areas. And Jeff, our full-time maintenance employee, has been performing extra cleaning everywhere, making sure to thoroughly clean commonly used areas. We'll go to the next slide, Melissa. Here's some pictures of the admin building along with Jeff, who's been doing a wonderful job for us. You can see an example of the hand pumps installed and the spout on the water fountain closed off, essentially eliminating a touch point at the faucet, and you can still fill up your water bottle through the top of the filler. At the front of the admin building, notices have been posted on the cedar posts requesting 1 customer in the building at a time and to maintain 6 feet distance from each other. The cedar posts are close to about 6 feet apart, which provides a good guidance for our customers. And then you have a picture of one of our administration meetings taking place on Microsoft Teams there. Go to the next slide. Moving into bridge services. Toll staff are all required to wear masks while working in the booth. Some have come up with some clever designs on their masks, all appropriate. Just recently, we started accepting cash again at the booths after not doing so through the early months of the pandemic. This was done to take some of the pressure off the toll collectors. A large majority of them welcomed the change back to accepting cash, and we included the health department in the conversation when discussing the decision to accept cash again. We asked for their advice on things we could do to minimize the collector's risk of contact. This advice included reminders to sanitize and wash their hands regularly, avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, especially after handling cash. And if they bring something to drink with them in the booths, requiring a top and a straw on that drink to keep their hands away from their face while taking a sip. There were 3 web cameras purchased to allow bridge services and maintenance staff the ability to reach admin staff like Kim and myself or Julie face-to-face when we're out of the office. With no cash being accepted in the months of March and May, the front office bridge service staff were very busy with foot traffic into the admin building. And as Cammie mentioned in her earlier presentation, signups for MacPass stickers exploded as we neared that July deadline where stickers became $1. The solution was to implement another help window to assist customers as they lined up outside and bring Dan from accounting out of the vault, who helps count all our money, bring them out of the vault upstairs and help us with processing a lot of these new accounts. Just for statistical reminder, for the month of May alone, we opened up 936 new accounts and created over 3,600 MacPass stickers that were issued. We can go to the next slide, Melissa. And here we have some pictures of the web cameras purchased in action, one with one of our collectors speaking to Kim, and then another one with him speaking with me through my work phone. These cameras have been very handy and work well for their intended purpose. We also have a picture of Dan working on sticker requests with a roll of stickers in his hand, ready to go and get processed. Move on to the next slide. This is a picture of the additional help windows that we implemented to help customers quickly. This essentially helps keep multiple people from entering the welcome lobby to the admin building and encroaching on each other. If you know the admin building layout, that through that first door, there's a very small section where customers can stand to get help at a help window. And we had an issue where a lot of customers were coming in and standing behind each other. So The help window was implemented to kind of keep people calm, help them process through the lineups, and it's worked well. You can go to the next slide, Melissa. These are a picture of some various masks that were created. We have Scott with his penguin mask and Deb with an MBA logo on hers. The picture on the right, which is another tweet, was a large majority of what our customers have been seeing during the peak of the pandemic. So you have a credit card reader being held out and the collectors with gloves and mask on. So if you were to pull up to one of our booths, this is what you'd likely see. Go to slide 9, please. As you know, as we all know, the consistent cleaning and sanitizing requires quite a bit of supplies. And the pictures you see here are the hand sanitizers from various businesses in Michigan. Both distillers created their own handmade hand sanitizer during the shortage. It is not alcohol that you would drink. And the bridge purchased those from those businesses. And then in the middle, we have face shields, which Bay Mill Community College, we believe, used their 3D printer to create. And a thank you goes out to Dr. Christopher Griffin, who donated the face shields to the bridge. We'll go to the next slide. Last but not least, we have maintenance. Maintenance has been placed on unique schedules of 12, 10, and 6-hour day shifts in multiple crews to maximize the amount of work that could be completed while taking into consideration social distancing and furlough days. The bridge provided programs like driver assistance has been eliminated, and wind escorting procedures have been adjusted to ensure maintenance staff and truck driver safety. One crew per person, or I'm sorry, one truck per person rule was implemented, which has been slight a challenge for the maintenance crew, but they have adapted well with that. And then staffing is ensuring the cleaning and disinfecting of the work areas and trucks after every shift. On the next slide here, we just have a little example of picture of Tom from maintenance demonstrating kind of how they clean the trucks after every shift, wiping down the seats, spraying down door handles, and all the other various touch points of the truck after their shift so that it can be ready for the next maintenance crew person to come in over and take that truck over for the day. You also have pictures lined up of the trucks ready to go and prepared for the next shift. So in summary, though, these events have been very challenging for the entire staff of the bridge, and although what you see in the pictures is the new normal, I want to make sure that I say one thing that's never changed is the dedication of the toll collectors, the maintenance, and the admin staff to ensure the safety and needs of the public are being met and that the bridge is maintained. It really is a true credit to the employees and their ability to adapt and handle these changes and just roll with punches. It's been good to see. Is there any questions?
Excellent report, Kip, and Kim and Julie and Kip and everybody else that's being part of this meeting. Make sure you share your closing statements with the entire staff at the Mackinac Bridge, and it certainly is not going to go unrecognized, all the good work they do up there on a regular basis under normal times, but especially now under these very difficult times to keep everybody's health, safety, and welfare first priority. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions of Kip? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business as well. Item 15, this is an action item, and I'd like to call on our vice chair as well as the chair of the Finance Committee. Amy, would you care to report on today's financial meeting?
Yes, thank you very much. Chairman Gleason, this morning you were part of it, and the whole board was, gratefully, because of the new way of doing our meetings. But we held a meeting this morning, and the following action items were voted on and approved by the Finance Committee, and they're being recommended to the Mackinac Bridge Authority as a whole for approval. The first item was regarding the repayment of advances to the Michigan Transportation Fund, that amount being changed from $1 million to $250,000. The second action item was a proposed budget amendment that was discussed and voted on and approved by the committee for fiscal year 2020. That resulted in a net deduction in the amount of $3,344,000. For a specific breakdown of those line item adjustments, it can be found in your binder under tab 7. The third and final action item was the approval of the fiscal year 2021 budget as presented by the Mackinac Bridge Authority's CFO, Cami. It was voted on and approved by the Finance Committee. It was requested by member Stidle. Sorry, I'm getting hungry. That the CFO evaluate different and perhaps less optimistic projected budget revenues by the next authority board meeting in the fall, as well as a request to show a prioritization and anticipated fiscal year quarter timeline for the capital outlays so we can understand the prioritization of those expenditures. Also, that was requested by the next board meeting in the fall. That's it, Chairman Gleason. I move to you to approve the finance action items.
Well, thank you, Amy. It sounded like that was one motion to accept all the action items, the motions that were made at the Finance Committee. Do I have support to that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll support that.
The motion's been made and duly supported to accept all the action items, the recommendations from the Finance Committee to the full Mackinac Bridge Authority. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Kim, would you be kind enough to call roll, please?
Yes, I will. Chairman Gleason?
Yes.
Vice Chair Trahey?
Yes.
Director Ajaba?
Yes.
Member Stidle?
Yes.
Member Kinley?
Yes.
Member Milliken?
Yes.
Member Cheeseman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Amy, for the thorough report. The next item under new business, item 16, it's the meeting schedule that we have for informational purposes. Hopefully our next meeting will be in person and we won't have to do a virtual meeting, but time will tell. Is there any discussion on that informational point of view? Okay, hearing none. Is there any other business by the board to come before the Mackinac Bridge Authority? I have just a couple brief comments. Number one is, once again, I really enjoyed, as well as the other board members, with our first meeting with Caroline Cheeseman and Bill Milliken as our new board members. And I value their input, and it's worked out very well. If there's no other comments by the board members, we will move right on to public comment. Is there any public comment to come before the Mackinac Bridge Authority? Any public comment to come before the Mackinac Bridge Authority?
Mr. Chair, this is James. I just reviewed the email address and I see no public comments submitted.
Thank you, James. With that being said, I believe a motion to adjourn would be in order. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and supported that the Mackinac Bridge Authority of July 10th, 2020 be adjourned. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Everyone have a nice day. Thank you for your participation.
Thank
Good
you.
to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.